Hey, everybody. Welcome to Data Drivers Hackathon number 3, where we're going to get started with Splunk's IT Service Intelligence. I am Corey Minton, IT strategist at Splunk, and I'm in the same room with a good friend of mine, Kyle Prinz.
Hey, my name's Kyle. I'm also an IT strategist at Splunk, and it's really nice to be in the same room as you.
It is, as folks who have been double vaccinated and are following the CDC's guidelines of being vaccinated and it's safe to congregate. We are taking full advantage of it. So we are super happy to be, returning to some normalcy.
Yeah.
And this Data Driver series is a ton of fun. We are going to get started. We've got a great hackathon for you today. I think you're going to have some fun with what we're going to get into. So, as we said, today's hackathon is all about getting started with ITSI. We started off our series over the last 2 months, really focused on getting data in and getting data in from our big gaming PCs using the Smart Agent for Splunk Observability Cloud. Then the next week we worked on getting data in from iRacing, and now we've got a bunch of data flowing. Now it's time to get started building cool stuff. So we are here because Data Drivers is a series of races and hackathons. In the races, we're using iRacing.com to go racing as a way to create data to give us an interesting and fun data set to play with in Splunk. And then in the hackathons, which you're part of here today, what we're doing is we're giving folks access to an environment where they can get hands-on with Splunk in an interesting way. So again, the idea is, go racing, have some fun with racing simulators. The growth of this, sim platform has been phenomenal over the last few years. I don't know about you, but it's been fun to be able to get a wheel on the desk and just go rip around a track.
Man, it's been pretty cool because my iRacing just told me, hey, you've been doing this for about a year now. And, when I first got this, I know we've said this plenty of times, but it is not a game. It is a racing sim platform. It is way different. And when we first started this, I thought, yeah, okay, it's interesting. And now it's, you're trying to find time in your schedule to go and do this. So it's really fun, and it is a wild experience to get behind the wheel of these cars and really see the power that they have in a virtual world.
Yeah. It is a lot of fun. Well, and like anything that we've done, we actually got into this whole racing thing because of last year's virtual race to Splunks.conf. But what we didn't do during that, which is what we're trying to fix here, is we didn't invite you all to come learn with us. We didn't invite people to get hands-on with Splunk the way that we were getting hands-on with it as we were building the things that we eventually showed at .conf. And so that's what we're doing here today. But the best part is that not only are we racing and that's fun, we're creating data set that's fun, we're using Splunk, which hopefully will help you all learn how to use Splunk, maybe in your day jobs, build some skills that can make you more employable, or maybe you're in a promotion, who knows. But we're also getting to hang out with the team from McLaren's Shadow esports team called McLaren Shadow. And we'll hear later from Tobin Lee, manager of that team. He's going to be guiding our work here today. So as a recap, our races, as we said, we've raced at Barber and Brands Hatch this week. Yesterday, you saw the race over on Splunk's Twitch channel where we raced at the Spa circuit. Things did not go so well for me. Kyle, you did well. Qualified where you ended. That's good.
Yeah, I finished where I qualified, and I was pretty happy about that. Because in the race world, if you can qualify and stay the same or do better, that's good. If you do worse, that's not so good. So fortunately, I was able to do perfectly average. I'm pretty happy with that. We'll see how I go at the end of this month at Phillip Island in Australia. But
well, actually, that's a good point, though. So we actually posted this question to our participants who have registered. And as a reminder, if you haven't registered for the series, there's a link in the notes below. We'll put it in the chat here in just a second, where you can sign up to register with us. But one of the things that we recognized was that McLaren's Shadow esports team doesn't actually race the GT3 cars on iRacing very often. And so we're contemplating, and maybe I'd ask you all this question: would you like to see us go do a race instead of a road racing race with the GT3 class of cars? Would you like to see us do a NASCAR race, like a proper NASCAR race in the modern NASCAR cars, like maybe Daytona? Like I'm thinking Daytona. I think it's legendary.
Yeah.
I think the data would be interesting. So, anyways, put your thoughts in the chat if you think NASCAR would be fun. I think it would. I think it'd make for a good broadcast.
Yeah, I've practiced on a NASCAR before, and you think it's just drive fast, turn left, and what you don't realize is those things are crazy squirrely, especially if you're not so good at something like this. So, yeah, I think we'll have a good time with it. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so anyway, stay tuned. We're going to do some racing later this month, but jury's still out if it's GT3 or NASCAR. We'll see. And then we're going to the Twin Ring Motegi over in Japan, and then we'll wrap things up at Sonoma. Ooh. And again, the races, what's super fun about it is you get to watch people who are terrible at racing, i.e. Corey and Kyle, but you also get to watch professionals. So actually, Tomic from the Shadow McLaren development team joined us and put on a clinic with a fellow Splunker who was amazing. Another A-class racer, John Hayward, came in second, and they are just dominant forces. So check out the races. They're super fun. And the hackathons, I think we've said this, but for those of you who are just tuning in, one, all the hackathons, the videos have kind of, they've run their course on Twitch. But if you want to go back and watch those, we'll drop a link in the chat here in a minute to, you can go watch them on YouTube. If you didn't do it before and you missed them for some reason, you can go follow along and catch up. Just make sure you register via the link, and you'll get access to those labs. So you can actually get a login, username and password to the lab, and you can do it yourself. And if not, we're trying to make all this stuff available to you if you want to build this in your own lab. So still go ahead and register. But we're putting all of the links to things like our scripts that we build, the documentation that we're using. It's all available via our Discord channel. So definitely make sure and pay attention. And as you see, we got the data in the first two. Today, we're going to get started with ITSI, which I think is going to be fun, but it's like we're scratching the surface, just starting to get going with ITSI, which I think will be fun. And then we're going to start building on that with ITSI on, really digging into services and understanding service dependencies. And we'll explain what all this means. Then we're going to build some really slick race day visualizations that imagine would be up on the screen in front of the pit wall, or for somebody like Tobin running the esports team that he'd have on screen, help giving him cues, visually of what he should be coaching the drivers against. And then we're going to turn it all into action, showing some really cool stuff to wrap this thing up. And I will say, spoiler alert, there is going to be some data drivers things happening at .conf. And if you're not familiar, .conf is Splunk's annual user conference. It is back, and we're actually having it in person in Vegas. So if you need an excuse to go to Vegas for a conference, go to conf.splunk.com and hang out. And we can also tell you that if you're into Boss of Ops and Observability, that's our formerly Botan. Yeah. We have a racing scenario in there for you, and there's going to be some new stuff coming out. So be sure and register for the boo that's happening at .conf. Okay. So as a reminder, if you want to participate, if you want to get hands-on with us, meaning you want to come race with us on iRacing, or you want to get hands-on with the labs, use the QR code that we saw before, use the link that we'll put in the chat, sign up, and we'll give you access to all the things you need to come do this with us side by side. The other thing is, if you just want to continue to passively consume this, feel free, hang out on Twitch, ask questions in the chat. We're here to help. We've got some talented folks from Splunk here to help you.
Yeah, and now to get to the point of the hackathon. If you're new, we'll go over a little bit of the format. If you've been around a bit, you probably understand what's going on. So for this first part of the hackathon, we're going to give a challenge introduction, so kind of explain the ideology around the whys and the hows of what our goal is today. We'll get a McLaren Shadow esports perspective, which is going to be Tobin Lee talking a bit around our challenge perspective and see what data and what aspects and what visualizations of that would be relevant for him, because data can or cannot be relevant depending on what lens you're looking at. So we want to make sure that we're hitting the proper lens for that to achieve that outcome for him. We're also going to give a bit of a Splunk technical overview. As you know, we've got quite a bit of cool tech here at Splunk, and we want to make sure that we have a proper background understanding of what little product within Splunk that we're going to be covering. So we'll give you a bit of an overview and some history around that. And then we'll do the collaborative hacking section. Now, I know we've said this before, and we'll say it again. Hop on Discord, sign up. I think we can drop a Discord link there in the chat. You're going to want to sign up there and join into the Hackers channel, and that's where we drop everything there. And it's a fun little community to collaborate on, to see, post some questions, and we'll take some answers there. We also will be providing some homework with a bonus challenge. Now, one thing that I don't think we did properly well during virtualrace.conf was, you did get to go in and play and look at the data, but you didn't exactly get to go in and play with it yourself. So now you get full user access. You can play with the data, build some weird, cool things, whatever you'd like to do over the next bit. And we'll have some links there in Discord as well. And then to wrap up at the end of the hour, we'll be providing a preview of the next session to give you some ideas to get those wheels turning in your head as to what's going to be showing up at the tail end of this month.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. So Your challenge today, Kyle, we've got a fun one. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, so we're finally getting started with Splunk ITSI. You know, the first 2 sessions of these was really just focused on getting data in. Now, whether that was getting computer data in or getting iRacing data in, both of those were just kind of focused on let's get the data into Splunk. Now we finally get to focus on the fun part, applying metadata around that, applying scope around that, and solving a problem and visualizing what we want to do. So we used Splunk Observability Cloud. That's where the data is getting ingested from our machine. And then we're going to be querying Splunk Observability Cloud and pulling that into Splunk ITSI. Specifically today, we're going to be focused on tire health. And I noticed that we spelled tire
the correct way.
Yes.
For our audience, because we should always be mindful of the consumers of the things that we build. And as it turns out, the team at McLaren Shadow is based over in the UK, and that is the way they spell tire. Yeah. So that was an intentional misspelling.
Fair enough.
It's not spelled the Freedom way.
That's fine. We'll let this one slide, Corey. Don't let it happen again.
That's right. So the challenge is this, right? We're pulling data in, and we're going to show you some cool stuff. But more than anything else, I think it's probably good for us to get some perspective from our friends at McLaren Shadow. And again, we're going to jump in for a quick video to get some perspective. We'll be right back. Welcome back to another McLaren Shadow Perspectives. We are joined by Tobin Lee, manager of McLaren's Shadow Esports team. Tobin, congrats. Saw that your team took P3 in your inaugural run in the V10R League. Tell us a little bit about what that was like and kind of your key takeaways from that awesome racing series.
Yeah, it was one of the first series that McLaren have gotten involved with outside of F1 esports, which is where it traditionally sat, as you may not be too surprised to hear. But we did well. I think it was really good fun. A lot of challenges with going on to a new game that we hadn't competed on too much before, but we had a new roster and they all absolutely smashed it. So yeah, really good fun. And I think it hopefully will mark the start of us spreading more and more games as we progress Shadow forwards from here.
Excellent. Well, for those that missed our last chat, you as the manager of Aaron's Shadow Esports team, you told us that when we were building the dashboards and some of the gauges in Observability Cloud, that really a lot of centers on tires, tire temp, tire health, tire wear, that kind of thing. Remind us why that was so critical sort of component for you as the manager in the race.
Yeah, I mean, tires are really just the core, no pun intended, of everything is going on in the race. I think that it can tell you when you push, when you pit, how it gives a really good insight to everything that's going on in terms of what's actually going on for the driver. So it's the main indicator I say we use to just track how a race is going, and a lot of our decisions come off of the back of that.
Now, pit strategy tends to be kind of like at the center of what a team principal prepares for and executes during a race. Beyond tires, what other KPIs or pit strategies do you guys have that you would make decisions on?
I think the main one away from tires are fuel. So obviously fuel, you could under fuel a car and it'll be lighter and faster, but that would have implications on the strategy that we're going with the pits. I think that overall, to be honest, it's mainly tires and fuel and how they intertwine and work together, because it both affects both things. And then also just generally as well, I think in terms of the pits, we can use them to get track position as well. So undercutting and overcutting can be critical if 2 cars are next to each other with similar pace. But then, yeah, the pit stop can shake it all up. So a lot to consider, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. So I know that strategy is one of the things that you're, again, it's the thing you can affect and that you can really coach the drivers on. And as you said before, you don't want to put too much information in front of the drivers because they're focused on, as you said, driving. And so you really want to give them simple instruction, push the pace, let up, those kind of things. But like as manager of the team, you've got other things besides pit strategy that I'm sure you're kind of watching and you're curious about that affect sort of Do I tell them to push? Do I tell them, they harder? What are maybe some of those other, if you think about like telemetry and metrics, what are some of those other things that we're like trying to answer? Like, what are you trying to figure out during a race that maybe our hackers can figure out?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think it's a big question as well. But I think overall, I think that the data for things like when a driver's pushing, it's about how they're changing their mentality and then how that's reflected in what their actual inputs are. And I think that for a driver, it's quite, it's almost like a sixth as to what's happening. However, I think with data, we'll be able to look at these kind of events in the race and different mindset kind of trends, if that makes sense, and then actually draw links between what the drivers are doing and different modes, optimize everything in a way that we can't currently. So yeah, again, very big question. There's a lot to it, but
but trying to answer that question of like, how do the inputs impact those metrics and the things that you were talking about before around tire health, around pace, that kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, we're trying to keep the cars on track and not have them go sliding on track, which I did that a few times this last week. And it's not advisable if you'd like to win races. Well, Tobin, thanks so much for joining us again on this hackathon for data drivers. And I hope London is continuing to treat you well. That Veloce office is really, really rad. And I'm super jealous.
Thanks a lot, guys. Pleasure.
All right, everybody, let's get back to the hacking. All right, we're back. It's always good to hear from Tobin. He's a class act, former professional racer turned professional sports racer turned manager of the team. And for those of you kids watching at home, the young man legit paid for his education and business school at university through his gaming career. So if your mom and dad tell you that gaming's bad, it's only bad if you're bad at it. If you're really good at it, then there's an opportunity. If you're bad at it, like me, don't bet on it. Like, you should probably give it
a hobby.
That's right. Keep it a hobby if not. So anyways, well, good to hear from Tobin. And as you heard, our main goal in our session today is to try to build that tire health view. And to do that, we are joined by none other than John Labaugh. John, welcome. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Man, we are super happy to have you.
This slide is crazy. What have you done?
Yeah, so John was frantically working today and asked so graciously that I set up his About Me slide. So John, if you'd like to pick through some of these, I tried to work in as much as I could based around some of this.
You have
into these.
I'd say he is great at ITSI. That's probably the most important thing.
Yes.
He is the mastermind behind Boss of Ops and Observability. Kind of got the button thing started. Let's see, what else do we like about here?
Jason S. on LinkedIn gave him a recommendation, which is just really nice.
He does have a tendency to buy Milky Ways in bulk.
Yes. Yes. He recently cleaned his office.
You guys. All right.
And he also has a beautiful headshot that you can Photoshop in different backgrounds.
I noticed that a little bit.
80s laser background. So, new profile picture for you, John. You're welcome.
All right.
Well, John, we're glad to have you, buddy. As we said, everybody, we're going to do a quick sort of introduction to Splunk IT Service Intelligence. And John is going to be our subject matter expert today. And he's going to dive through just, again, a quick overview so we understand some concepts. And then we're going to go get hands on the lab together. So if you have questions while John's giving us this update, put them over in the chat. We're active over on the Discord channel as well. But John, thanks for being here, buddy. We are super glad to have you. You're going to be around for a couple of shows. And the show is all yours, my man.
All right. So ITSI, one of my favorite topics. I actually kind of want to introduce you guys to this in a little bit of a different way. So we're going to use our racing data from today, and we're gonna work through how the cars and the tracks and everything are super important to how we want to build this as a service. So when we talk about a service in ITSI, we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Corey, can you see my screen? Is it just me, or is it?
We cannot see your screen yet. We are. Do you want to use the slides, or do you want to show your video?
I want to share my screen.
All right, buddy. If you just share your screen again, I will put it up there. I just didn't have it. I wasn't showing it because I thought we were going to use the slides. You're good, buddy.
No, I like to talk about it live.
All right, hang on a second. Let's do this live.
So
right, we got your screen up, Bubba.
All right. So when we talk about a service or a business service, we're always talking about what we want to monitor, what is important to us as a end user. And in this case, we've got a whole bunch of nonsense here that doesn't really probably matter to us. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to monitor our car, or Kyle's car. So we're going to replay the data that Kyle raced with last week to actually monitor that service as a car, or monitor that car as a service. So we're going to kind of start to trim this down a little bit. We'll start by going into the service analyzer, and we're already there, right? And we're going to create a new service by going into services, and there we go. We've got a bunch of information here. We're going to start creating Kyle's car.
And for those of you who are following along online, if we sent an email out with the credentials to get to the lab environment. So you're welcome to follow along with John. And if you didn't get them in the lab environment or in the email, we did put them in the Discord channel under Hackers Text, so you can log into the environment and follow along as well. So just a heads up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a whole bunch of information here. Like, we could go in and build a lot of things out of this pre-built stuff, but you know what? Today we want to build our own service. We want to build our own KPIs based on a car. So we're going to manually add our service context. Of course,
to be fair, right? So ITSI, it's real where it lives in the enterprise where people use it is for monitoring a bunch of IT assets that are like all you guys and gals that run, that are in IT operations. We all run the same stuff. We've got, on-prem stuff, servers, network storage. You've got orchestration things, VMware, Kubernetes, containers, right? You've got networking. You've got all these things. And so a lot of that is out of the box with ITSI. It makes it super easy. We're applying this to racing. So we're going to.
It's not out of the box, right? Like it's out of the box
things, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to build our own stuff today, which is cool. But of course, all of that fun stuff is there for us if we ever wanted it.
Yep.
So we're going to build our own service today. And you know what? I'm going to monitor Kyle's car because he showed up first. And so we'll say we're going to manually add the context. We're going to do all that.
He showed up first only because he was smart enough to turn on his iRacing script that we built last year.
The one that he wrote to monitor.
King of automation over here.
I was about to say, well, if you write the script, you kind of are allowed a few perks. So,
I forgot. Let's be honest. I forgot to turn mine on. That's why I'm 10 minutes late to this.
Yeah. Hey, first doesn't always equal fastest.
I was in the race, and Kyle said, "Corey, I don't see data come in." And I'm like, "Oh man, I forgot to turn the script on."
Well, it's a perk of being a good scripter, right?
I'm not
Nate
smart.
Smalley, perks of being a good Python scripter.
There you go. All right, we're creating a service.
So we're going to use my car as a service then. So then
We are.
Okay.
So just for everybody's context, right? A service is a collection of this underlying thing called KPIs that we're going to build, right?
Yeah. So the way that I like to think about it is a service is a box of KPIs or a bucket of KPIs. And so if we can get Kyle's car created here.
Is this the slide here? Yeah.
I
was going to pull the slide up just because the slide I felt like had a good description of it. Sorry, I was going through them. Yeah, so services are a logical grouping of things, right? And then the KPIs that we're going to build are helpful for giving us things like we'll aggregate those to build health scores that will end up giving us the visualization that John showed earlier on. That's going to be super useful.
All right. So we now have Kyle's car, which is called S.
That's a good letter. You know, it rounds things out.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of S.
So what we're going to do here, again, we have all of this really cool stuff that's already built out, but none of this applies to cars, right? Yeah. Kyle? I mean,
right. Yeah. I mean, as much as I appreciate, you know, the health score of a cloud, I don't see how this is going to make me faster. And going off of a few talks around Tobin Lee's, you know, feedback from us, he seemed right. Yeah. And it seems weather and tires, but weather wouldn't relate back to a car service. But
so what we're going to do is what we're going to do, create a generic KPI. And I actually really hate the term generic KPI because it's not generic at all. It is very, very specific. So we're going to be looking at left front tire temperature.
Yep.
Yeah. Because if I can provide some context on that, the bit that you go around the track, you need to warm up your tires because if they aren't up to proper temperature,
tire.
Hey, John, will you do me a favor? Will you bring your browser window to full screen? And then zoom in a little bit because you can actually just go full screen because we've got your whole screen share. Yeah. That'll give us a little bit more real estate. Now we're talking, we had somebody commenting on the, on Discord that they couldn't see the text very well. Hopefully that's better.
Is it tire or tire?
It's TYRE, I think, for Tobin. It's mega tire. Mega, it's Brill.
So this new general KPI that we're going to be creating, which is not general at all, it's very specific. We're going to create this KPI, and we're going to start monitoring this very regularly. And what we're going to do with that is we got a whole bunch of different ways that we can monitor it. But Corey, I don't know if you want to talk about how we brought this data in.
For sure.
But we've got 4 different methods of looking at it. We've done some really cool stuff, though, to bring this into a metric search. So I'm going to let Corey talk about how we got this data in.
Yep. So here's the story. We used Splunk Observability Cloud as our path to get metrics in at a very simple way using APIs in a modern sort of metrics-oriented deployment. And Splunk's Observability Cloud has a ton of great features that we've been able to use and will continue to use as we go forward in building dashboards and alerting for the use of these, building visualizations that matter to a racing manager. But we wanted to use Splunk's IT Service Intelligence, and you really have 2 options when thinking about using Splunk IT Service Intelligence with metrics. And one is you can either have data in a Splunk Enterprise or Splunk Cloud metric store, or you can use the SIM commands to basically go query data that's in Splunk Observability Cloud and bring that data, or bring those queries back into ITSI. To simplify things for our hackers, we actually used the Splunk Infrastructure Monitoring add-on, which is an add-on that's available in Splunk Base that makes it super easy for those organizations that want to have metrics both in an observability platform like Splunk Observability Cloud, but they also want to have those metrics maybe on-prem in a ITSI deployment that's on-prem in their enterprise. Those metrics can coexist in both places. There's something called the Signal Flow API that allows that data to stream from Splunk Observability Cloud into Splunk Enterprise, if specifically on-prem, and in the Splunk metric store that we're using for Splunk ITSI. So that's what we did. And really, it's actually a quite simple process. The Splunk Infrastructure Monitoring add-on comes with a number of out-of-the-box tools that would pull infrastructure data from Splunk Observability Cloud into Splunk. Now, the reason why we say normal out of the box, things like AWS, GCP, Azure, VMware, Kubernetes, all that stuff that you would normally use Splunk infrastructure monitoring for, and you want to get that data out, that's all pre-built. But to make it easy for you, our friends, we didn't want to have you guys have to build any sort of signal flow, although it is quite simple. We literally used an Excel spreadsheet with some stanzas to create it. And like this next slide, it shows a very
Corey, that looks complicated.
What's really funny is it's not complicated at all. Once we figured out the stanza, and I wish we'd had a zoomed in picture, you just have to understand the signal flow API and how it likes to have call out dimensions. And all I did was literally create a table in Excel and just add the stanzas to all the metric names. Because remember, we've got over 300 metrics coming out of iRacing. So in the script that Kyle so kindly created, which is, by the way, available in GitHub. We'll put the link in. We'll put the link in the chat. That if you want to get data from your Splunk Observability Cloud environment over to your Splunk Enterprise or Splunk Cloud environment metric store for ITSI, you can copy and paste this text file right into the Splunk Infrastructure Monitoring add-on setup, and it will begin flowing data. So that's the story. It's really what we did is for our lab, for our friends of you that are hacking with us. It's just we basically picked up all the metrics from SOC and dropped them into Splunk. Now, I do want to say a quick caveat, which is, we hear from time to time that Splunk is expensive. That's one of the things that people say from time to time. But let me assure you this: one, Splunk is high value. We know that. But we don't actually charge you. Splunk doesn't charge you for.
Yeah, this costs literally nothing, right?
Yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. If you have metrics that are already in Splunk Observability Cloud and you're a Splunk Observability Cloud customer and you're using it and you've got metrics there and you also want them to live in Splunk Enterprise metrics for for things like ITSI, you don't get charged for metrics that ingest using the Signal Flow API. So ingest away, it costs you nothing extra. It just makes it a bit easier. We could show you the SIM commands to pull this stuff in ITSI, but for those of you just getting started with ITSI, it's easier to use the metrics as they exist in Splunk Enterprise.
Hey,
so
can I continue to nerd out? Like,
yeah,
I really want to show everybody like the stuff that I'm excited about here in ITSI. So, there's a whole bunch of stuff here, like the metrics search, which Corey has, very graciously showed. Like, all we have to do here is select the correct metrics name.
They're all there.
What's that?
They're all there. It's fantastic. I mean, we got 300 plus metrics.
300 metrics that we could use in any way, shape, or form that we want to. Like, it's so beautiful.
Actually, and one thing, John, I think you glossed over it earlier, but I want to make sure we repeat this because this is kind of a cool. We're talking about nerding out. So John actually has the data replaying from a race that we ran last week. We ran a 1 hour long endurance race for this purpose, and we recorded the data, and he's actually got the data replaying as if it's live. So if you're logged into this lab environment, much like we do with Boss of Ops and Observability, we've got a data gen running that's actually making the data look like it's coming in live right now, so that when we build these things, there's actual data being spun up, and I'm not, or Kyle's not, or somebody's not having to run the race.
Yeah, Kyle's not racing right now.
Trying to race and do this together.
We discovered that last month. Yeah,
that's true. We did.
Yeah. I don't really know where to go from there. But okay, so
so left front tire. Let's find that iRacing metric for left front tire.
Left front tire. Okay, so there's so many metrics here. So we'll do iRacing.left front tire. What?
So the left front tire temp CM is carcass middle.
Okay. Wow.
So we have a glossary that's also in the GitHub of it's the vars.txt file that explains what each of those metrics are and what unit of measure they're in. So that's really useful because it's good to know what the data is if you're going to try to.
Yeah, I mean, what's really important is that you can actually find all the data that's important to you and go attack it right in whatever you need to do. So. Okay, so we found our new data. We're going to kind of gloss over this a little bit because I want to talk to you guys about this in the next episode. But entities and services are super important when we're building this. So we've got our left front tire temperature. We're going to build this out as a KPI. This is a key performance indicator that we want to measure as often as we can. So we're going to go ahead and say, hey, we want to measure this every minute, and we want to measure this on average or at maximum.
I think average probably makes sense, probably because if you think about a tire, like it may get really hot in a braking scenario or in a hard acceleration scenario.
So you want to go maximum on this one?
No. What I was going to say is I like the average because I want to look at it if it's getting heated for an extended period of time. So if the average gets higher, because a peak doesn't really matter. I mean, if it gets really hot for a second, I'm not as concerned.
Yeah, it's if you're skidding into a wall such as I do, it does cool down after a bit. So yeah, I would say average would be good.
Yeah, I mean, so what I always say when like this is the most important screen in ITSI when we're kind of configuring what we want to think about. Knowing what we're measuring and how we're measuring it is super important. And so we'll talk about like the calculation window. We could do the last minute. Generally, the KPI search schedule and the calculation window should be exactly the same. But we want to think about those things when we're going after them, right?
Yeah.
And we've got little helpful things that tell us like, the data gaps and the null values. What is really nice is that we actually get a really clear description of what the calculation is doing for us. So
makes it human readable.
Yeah, human readable. Even me, I can sit down and say, okay, I understand what that's after.
Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So once we're done with that, we get this, left front tire calculation. We can do it. We decided what, Corey, it was in Celsius.
It is in C. Yep.
So we'll get that. A monitoring lag. ITSI actually does a really good job of putting that together for you without worrying about it too much. And then we're done. Backfill is something that we don't really need to worry about today. But then once we're done, we've got our thresholds already set for us. So we have some knowledge from Tobin, right, Corey?
Actually, from one of our hackers. Actually, they posted a link to a NASA, which is the National. It's a sports car association. I can't remember what the exact acronym is, but it was a guide. It was kind of like an introduction to tire temp, tire settings, tire thoughts. And it basically said that like ideal tire temperature for most tires is somewhere between 160 and 220 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 70 to like 105
Celsius.
Yeah, in Celsius. So like we'd need if the tires would be an optimal temperature, that would mean they were at like around 70 degrees Celsius. And if they were at the upper end of the optimal would be around 105. And anything
so
below.
Would do something like this, right? We would set kind of a rainbow, if you would.
John, I wonder if previously you said that we were going to cover in the next show, but in that split by entity, if you'd have put in driver, would we have popped data here?
I think we would have, yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm curious. I think we maybe go back and add that, or we can do it on the next one.
Oh yeah. Our data driver didn't show up today.
It happens. You had a wreck on the way into data driving.
It's not data driven.
Yeah. So these thresholds help us understand, what are these thresholds going to do for us?
So each of these thresholds is going to tell us, kind of either based on our knowledge of how the KPI or the tire temperature in this case is performing, or based on the historical performance of that KPI, like this helps us understand what is going on. So we're gonna set these, and I wish we had a little bit of data here.
All right. Well, is that
Yeah,
are you in our test instance, or are you in the spun up one for the hackers?
I'm in the spun up one for the hackers.
Gotcha. Well, looks like we got a little bit of a bug, which never happens on demos. I don't know if you know this, but live demos are
Demo live.
Yeah, the demo monkeys got us. But the thresholds are kind of interesting because when we have data flowing, and apologies, we don't have that flowing, ITSI is actually intelligent enough to go ahead and start applying thresholds based on what it's seeing, and has some advanced capabilities called adaptive thresholds that can actually start to understand statistical normalcy, and you can apply different models to calculate those thresholds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
All right, so we don't have data flowing. Do we want to bounce back to the slides for just a second, explain what some of the things that we're showing, or do you just want to keep pressing it? Oh, you got other environments up. This will be good.
Yep. So what we do with all of those KPIs, once we do it, once we actually understand what they're going, which all of these things are showing 0, which isn't great.
Uh-oh. Demo monkeys are getting us. It happens from time to time.
Everything looks happy up here. So this is our demo environment. Folks, sorry about that.
That's funny.
So then each of these KPIs then are basically have gone through the same process of what we've done before, right, John?
And then and they're color coded in a way that's based on those thresholds, so that if we know that the idea is that it would call attention to things that are, outside of either, as we said, based on our subject matter expertise and thresholds that we set, or based on what ITSI is calculating. Is that right? That's
absolutely right. So once we have set up our thresholds, and maybe we'll go back to that real quick. So once we're looking at our KPIs, give us just a second.
Oh, look, see, he's already building it. See, DisruptWorks, iRacing service. Got people in there building. I like it. Seeing the hackers get in there and build stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, are they building cars?
Yeah, it looks like Anthony's in there. Anthony from DisruptWorks is in there creating the service.
I love it.
I just saw it in there. That's good.
Good to hear, man.
Where's Anthony at? We're gonna find
DisruptWorks iRacing service.
Nice. All right.
Are you gonna go mess with his? Look at it. He's trying to do it himself, and you're messing with it.
Nope, I'm not messing with it. I'm just gonna demo it live.
All right, let's do this. Let's hit new and see. Let's build one. I think maybe we build. Do you think if we built it, if we split it,
we can build a new KPI, right? So okay. Yeah. So we wanted to build DisruptWorks iRacing service. So they're probably looking at Corey's car, I would imagine.
Maybe. I was going to say, why don't we look at tire wear? Because remember, we talked about how with Tobin, the tire temp is one, like overall health. But tire wear would be another KPI that would be interesting to look at if you start to, if you were going to build a health score that's based on multiple KPIs, then wear would be a pretty big indicator. So here you'd have the iRacing.LR or LF, either one. Yeah, LR wear.
Okay.
Where, that's the right value. That's fine. And so then split by entity, we definitely don't press next. Press yes there, because I think we need to.
Can't.
Oh, you can't. Okay. Sorry, my bad.
So we would do it every minute because we want it as fast as possible. And we'll do the average of that. And
now that where is typically coming off of, that's a percentage going off of the vars.txt. So that's a percentage number coming off of percent of tire left for that value.
Right.
Okay, so then that thresholding dashboard would be, or that service, then we would design that to be green at the top and red at the bottom, right? Or did you just, yeah.
I just skipped right over it.
Okay.
So the thresholding, yeah, we would absolutely set our custom threshold right around here. So this is now a percentage, right? So we would add probably what, 3 or 4 thresholds?
Yeah, probably just.
Yeah,
I would think just like, hey, be aware. You're kind of getting low. Hey, it's getting bad.
yeah. Because as I'm racing, I'm not too concerned until we're getting to like, all right, I need to be thinking
Like
about
25%ish.
yeah,
remaining.
like yeah. Hey, in the next 2 or 3 laps, maybe 4, you need to come back, and that probably plays into then with racing strategy of how mindful do you want to be, and how in the driver's head do you want to be too, right?
It's true. And then to think about this too. So again, knowing your data. This metric is a decimal value meant to represent percentage. So anything we put in would need to be 0 dot something for the percentage value. Yep.
Right.
And then and it is, remind me, Kyle, is tire wear, it's tire remaining, right?
Right. So it's
remaining
left.
would be like the base severity would be
Bad.
Yeah, base severity would be bad. 0 would be bad.
Yes.
High would be, yeah. So we need to flip that, right?
Yeah. So I think we would basically delete the first 2.
Yeah, you can get rid of the high and the mediums up there. Those can
the
go
top
away.
ones. The top ones.
Okay.
Because we don't care if it's 98. Like that's fine. That would be good.
Oh dear, that's all great. That's all green. What do we do here?
Yeah. So normal is up to. Yeah, so you set that. So that would be critical. There you go, and that set that to like 0.2. There you go, and then that one could be like 0.5. Yeah, that's fine, and that can be, perfect.
Base severity. Well, I think the problem is, gentlemen, is that I screwed up the data ingest.
Well, don't worry about it. We actually told in the so for those of you following along at home, we posted in the Discord that one of the things you'll get after this is an environment that we will keep up and running. And to be completely fair, one of the things that we did in this show is we were testing out the ability to take our iRacing data from our internal sort of tinkering instance and make a copy of it and data gen it into a separate instance. So we didn't have, no offense to you hackers, like we didn't have all y'all banging around in our private instance where we're kind of building these things. And it's our development instance. And so we had a little bit of a data gen challenge. That happens. But I think we took away from this some of the key things that I wanted to get, which was, we got this concept that, you can take here. Let me go up here. I want to go right to, hang on one second, John. I got this. So the whole idea was we wanted to get you all the idea that there are metrics. And while metrics are really interesting, they're values that are point in time values that, can give you an indication of something going on. And in IT, metrics are exactly that. They're designed to give us a real-time view of what's happening right now. And using ITSI to take those metrics, start to aggregate them into metrics become KPIs that tell us, hey, not only is this metric interesting, but it's really interesting if it reaches certain value levels. Take those value levels and those thresholds that we calculate, turn those into the KPI. The KPIs we then aggregate into the health score of a service, which is hey, of all the KPIs that we've put together that we say are our car's, service health, should we be concerned about anything? And then it allows us to drill into those areas of most importance based on color coding, based on service context. It's going to be really fun to build. So what we're doing in this, what we're going to challenge you all to do in the tinkering instance after the show is build KPIs for all 4 of your tires. So start by building a service, call it tire health for your car, and then build the service based on your tire temps. Remember LF, temp, and find the middle one. It's fine. And then right front, right rear, left rear. And then aggregate those, and then also build KPIs for the wear, keeping in mind that understand your data, right? Wear is how much wear is remaining on the tire. So how much have we taken away from it? And start to color code those and play with it. And that will give you some context of, sort of how you can use ITSI. And again, we will come back. We'll send a note out on Discord with details on how to access that lab environment. Again, apologies for the data gen thing happens, but we are human.
We can also include, like my car, we'll include the deliverables and the final product of that. So then you can dissect that. And, if you get stuck or something and wanting to help fix it yourself, you can have that. Otherwise, as always, Discord, we're always happy to help take questions and help answer some questions there.
For sure. And we'll put out a challenge for you all. If you want to, as you start tinkering in the environment, as we send this out, if you want to send us pictures of your KPIs and your services that you build, we'd love to see them. If you want to put them on social, I'd love to have you see those. Again, we do have the question for everybody that, are you interested in a NASCAR race? That's kind of important. I think that'd be fun to see some of the data.
Me too. I like driving fast and turning left.
Do you think we could, is NASCAR easy enough that we could just like tie a string to your steering wheel and hold it left? It's not that easy.
Could I drive?
I don't know, John. We saw you on track. You did pretty good. I was proud of you. You just got to remember, don't go the wrong way.
Hey, which would help with NASCAR.
Oh, that's true.
Drive faster and left.
If you're turning right, it's the wrong way.
But the NASCAR, I think if we were doing slower cars, absolutely.
Oh,
okay. Faster cars, it's a little bit of.
That's true.
You got to feather the gas a bit,
That's right.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Well, be sure to tune in next time. We're going to have another session digging further into ITSI, where we're going to be talking about how to, not just build one-off KPIs and one-off services, but actually using service templates to create more reusability. And as you can imagine, a lot of these skills we're building here are useful in your day job as a, if you're working in IT operations or SRE, those skills would help you build intelligent templates that you can rinse and repeat and apply to a bunch of different services to allow you to broaden the way that you're using KPIs. So we're going to go deeper than just tires in the service. We're going to start to look at things like, driver inputs. We're going to look at, other things going on in the car. We're actually going to look at the track as a service to say things like weather, track conditions, how those are affecting the service. And then we're going to look at something called service dependencies, which is, are the services dependent upon one another, and how do they impact each other? So definitely tune back in June 25th, 12 p.m. Pacific to come back, and we'll get hands on it again. I think we'll probably just expose our dev environment to everybody. But John Labaugh, thank you so much for the introduction.
Yeah, man. Sorry, guys. The data didn't work out. That's silly. That's silly. But what we'll do? We will make sure that everybody has access to the data if they want it going forward for the weekend and going forward from there.
Absolutely. Well, John, thank you so much for joining us, buddy. Have a great weekend. Data drivers, we are so thankful for you all. Again, we welcome your feedback. If there are things that you want to see us do in this series, things you want to learn that maybe we haven't taught or that are not on the agenda, challenge us. We're here to make your experience great. We're here to help you have fun. And frankly, having fun, learning some things that are skills that are useful in your day job, hopefully is valuable to you. So thanks, Kyle, for having me in your home.
You. Yeah, this was great.
The tiny desk. It's incredible.
Well-read library.
Yeah, well-read, very well-read. Well, thank you all. Whatever you're into, be data-driven and join Data Drivers, friends.